Chapter 4. The First Date. The Magic of Beginnings. Have you ever woken up with your heart racing before a first date? Those butterflies in your stomach everyone talks about aren't just a metaphor. You can actually feel the flutter when you're about to see someone you like. A first date has a special charm, a mix of mystery and hope hanging in the air. The magic of beginnings comes from the fact that anything is possible. The person in front of you could become a long-term partner, or, on the flip side, just a funny story to tell your friends later. It's exactly that uncertainty that makes the moment so thrilling. Before your first date, your mind probably runs in every direction. You spin ideal scenarios. What if the chemistry is instant, like in the movies, and we just click? And disaster scenarios. What if it's awkward, we run out of things to say, or I make a blunder? That's perfectly normal. We all want the beginning to be promising and pleasant, and we're afraid of blowing it. The good news is that no matter how the date goes, you'll learn something from it. And with the right preparation, both practical and mental, you can turn overwhelming nerves into excitement and make the most of the magic of this beginning. How did you meet? Maybe you found each other online, on a dating app or social media, trading witty messages and smiley emojis late into the night. Or maybe you met in real life at work, through mutual friends, at a party, and felt that spark that made you want to see each other again, this time on a proper date. The path to your first date can shape your mindset a bit. If you met online, it's natural to feel extra jitters. Will they look and behave in person the way they did in messages? Will the chemistry from the chat carry over face to face? On the other hand, if you've already met in person, at least you know how their voice sounds and how they smile, but you still feel the pressure of a new beginning. Now it's just the two of you, in a romantic setting. However you got here, the pre-date feelings are similar for everyone. A blend of anticipation and anxiety. In the days or hours beforehand, 1,000 questions might run through your mind. What impression will I make? What are we going to talk about for hours? What if they look at me funny because I'm nervous? What if I don't like them? This inner buzz is completely normal. Your brain is trying to predict the future to prepare you, but of course it can't know what will happen. So it serves up every possibility from the happiest to the most awkward. Take a deep breath. Really do it now. Inhale deeply through your nose. Hold for a second, then exhale slowly through your mouth. Notice some of the tension easing. One of the best tactics before a date is to find ways to calm yourself and cheer yourself on. Yes, you're nervous, and that's normal. It means you care. But don't let negative emotions take the wheel. Instead of thinking this is sure to go badly, shift your perspective. I'm going on this date to have a good time and meet someone new. Whatever happens, I'll spend some quality time and learn something interesting. Positive thinking can change your state. When you see this outing as an experience, not a life or death test, you'll show up more relaxed and more open to whatever unfolds. Let's talk a bit about expectations. It's very easy to build unrealistic expectations before a first date, especially if you already like this person a lot. Maybe you've got a serious crush after days of messaging, or maybe you were drawn to them the moment you met. Your excited mind weaves fairy tale scenes. You imagine gazing at each other romantically, talking for hours on end, maybe even a kiss at the end under the moonlight. There's nothing wrong with a sweet daydream. In fact, that very excitement gives you the courage to go on the date. The problem arises when you get too attached to those fantasies and pressure reality to match them exactly. Reality rarely lines up perfectly with the movie in our mind, not because your rosy scenario is impossible, but because people are real, not perfect characters, and situations aren't fully under our control. So try to temper your expectations. Go to the date curious, hoping for the best, without forcing a specific outcome in your head. Sometimes the most beautiful things happen precisely when you're not straining to make everything come out by the book. Allow yourself to be surprised. Preparing for a first date isn't just about calming your mind. It's also about a few practical details that can boost your confidence. First, choose your meeting spot wisely. Ideally, pick a relaxed public place where you can hear each other and focus on one another. A cozy cafe, a quiet park for a walk, maybe even a bookstore cafe or a bohemian tea house, whatever the venue. The key is that you both feel comfortable. Avoid ultra-formal restaurants where the vibe can be stiff and intimidating, or noisy clubs where you can't have a normal conversation. The goal is to talk freely and get to know each other. If you're the one suggesting the place, think about the other person's preferences. For example, if you know they love coffee, a cafe is a great choice. And if the invitation came from them, you can suggest the time, so you have plenty of room to get there without rushing, and you're not already stressed by traffic or delays. Next, outfit and appearance. What do you wear on a first date? Short answer, something you feel good and attractive in. First impressions matter, there's no point denying it. We all try to look our best when we meet someone we're interested in, but best doesn't have to mean ultra-formal or straight off the runway. It means appropriate for the setting and, most importantly, aligned with your personality. If you're usually a casual person, you don't need to show up in a very formal outfit that doesn't feel like you just to impress. For women, unless you're going to a 5-star restaurant, sky-high heels and an evening gown can be over the top. Choose something chic yet comfortable that lets you walk easily and doesn't leave you stressing all night about snags or sore feet. For men, there's no need for a suit if you're going for a walk or grabbing a drink in town, but skip your threadbare high school t-shirt. A casual button-down or a clean t-shirt and a pair of pants you feel good in can be plenty. What matters is being well-groomed, a shower beforehand, a touch of fragrance, not the whole bottle, clean, pressed clothes, simple things that show respect for yourself and for the other person. When you look good, you feel good and you'll naturally bring more confidence to the date. Once you've chosen the place and you're happy with how you look, let's talk about the mindset you're bringing with you. In the hours leading up to the date, instead of looping in your head, "Oh God, I'm so nervous. What if I mess this up?" Try channeling that energy into a more relaxed state. It might help to listen to some music you love while you get ready, a song that lifts your mood or boosts your confidence. You know that track that makes you feel like a rock star when it comes on, right? Some people do a few breathing exercises or some light stretching before they head out to release physical tension. Others give themselves an upbeat pep talk in the mirror. "I look good, I feel good, I'm ready to meet X, it's going to be a lovely evening." It may sound like a motivational cliché, but affirmations like these really can work. You're setting your mind on a positive track. And, very important, remember the other person probably has nerves too. You're not the only one with butterflies that night. That thought can help you be kinder to yourself and to your date. If you see them a bit tense or fidgeting, it doesn't mean they're not into you. It means they also want to make a good impression. Okay, you've arrived at the venue. Maybe you're a few minutes early, out of excitement, or because you hate keeping anyone waiting. And catch yourself rearranging things on the table or leafing through the menu without actually reading it, just to keep your hands busy. Or maybe you're 2 minutes late and walk in a bit flustered, scanning the room for a familiar face. Either way, the moment of the actual meetup is here. When you see each other for the first time that day, offer a warm smile. A genuine smile is the best introduction. It says you're glad to see them and instantly softens the atmosphere. If the situation allows, you'll probably greet with a handshake, or especially if you already know each other a bit, a quick peck on the cheek or a brief hug. That first physical contact, however simple, a light touch on the arm, a friendly hug, can also break the ice and help you both relax. Of course, read the situation. Some people are more reserved about touch at the beginning, but there will still be some form of greeting. After you've said hello and sat down, the first few minutes of conversation are usually the most awkward. A touch of nerves is inevitable until you settle into each other's presence. You can start with something simple and positive, like a sincere compliment. "It's great to see you. You look wonderful today." Or "I really like this place. It's nice here." Remarks like these set a good tone right away. If you chose the spot together, you can comment on it. "I've heard they make great lemonade here. I have to try it." Small things that, nevertheless, set the tone for a relaxed conversation. Keep the communication natural. The key on a first date is to be truly present and to show interest in the other person. Listen when they speak, not just politely nodding, but really listening. Ask questions related to what they're sharing. Show you're curious to know more. People enjoy feeling genuinely heard. At the same time, don't turn the date into an interrogation. You don't want it to feel like a job interview. Alternate questions with sharing your own experiences. For example, if you learn they're passionate about travel, you might ask, "What's the most interesting place you've been?" And after they answer, add, "That's awesome. I still dream of making it to X. I think it would be an amazing adventure." That way you create a lively dialogue, not a string of dry Q&As, a dialogue, not an interrogation. That's the goal. If you only ask robotic questions, the other person may feel examined, not known. Topics to talk about. On a first date, it's good to keep the conversation in a light, pleasant zone. Talk about hobbies, favorite movies or shows, the music you like, funny experiences from childhood or adolescence, quirky little adventures you've had. These let you get to know each other in a relaxed way. A friendly tip: if you feel comfortable, share a small embarrassing or funny story of your own, how you got into a stranger's car by mistake thinking it was your friend's, or how you spilled coffee on yourself right before an important meeting. They'll likely laugh and feel encouraged to share a funny mishap of their own. Laughter brings people close remarkably fast and reduces tension. Of course, keep the tone positive. This isn't the moment to bring up your darkest traumas or very serious personal problems. Those can come in time if the relationship evolves and you earn each other's trust. Sometimes the conversation just flows, other times it stalls. If you feel an awkward silence creeping in, don't panic. It's perfectly normal to have small pauses. You don't have to fill every second with chatter. You can smile and say something like, "Sorry, I think I'm still processing the fact that, wow, we're actually here face to face. I'm glad to be here." That kind of vulnerable honesty, you're directly saying, "I'm a bit overwhelmed, but I'm happy to be here," can melt the awkwardness. The other person will likely appreciate the sincerity and might admit, "I'm a bit nervous too, but excited." Boom, you've just moved past the tough moment together and you're already a little closer. Non-verbal communication is just as important as the words you say. On a first date, pay attention to your body language and to theirs. Aim for an open posture. Face your date, not with your arms crossed, which can signal defensiveness or discomfort. Lean in slightly when they speak, as if every word is interesting. If you're genuinely interested, that will come naturally. Maintain eye contact. Looking them in the eye creates connection and shows you're attentive. Of course, don't stare without blinking. We're not trying to win a staring contest, haha. But don't let your eyes wander all over the room as if you're searching for an emergency exit either. When you smile or laugh sincerely at what they say, you're signaling that you enjoy their company. And nothing relaxes the atmosphere more than seeing the person across from you having a good time. Very important, your phone. Yes, that magnetic device that so often steals our attention. On a first date, your phone should stay in your pocket or bag, on silent. Nothing kills the magic of a conversation faster than someone tapping away on their phone in the middle of the date. If you keep pausing to reply to messages or check notifications, the other person will feel ignored and think you're bored. Instead, make it a habit to check it only when needed. Maybe you want to show a funny photo when you're talking about your pet. That's cute and relevant. Otherwise, focus on the person in front of you. Show them they have your full attention. In today's world, being truly present, without distractions, is a huge compliment. Throughout the date, remember to be yourself. Yes, we know, classic advice, but so valuable. When we're nervous, it's tempting to polish our personality to look as close as possible to the other person's ideal. If you get the impression they love mountain hikes and you're not really that type, you might think about presenting yourself as a big nature lover just to have something in common. Resist the urge to pretend to be someone else. First, if things go well, how long can you keep up the act? Sooner or later they'll find out you prefer Netflix on the couch to scrambling along ridgelands. Then you'll both feel the play acting was a waste of time. Second, you want to be liked for who you are, not for a role you're playing. Otherwise, the success of the date wouldn't mean anything real. So talk about what you truly enjoy, and be honest if you don't know much about a topic. There's no shame in saying, "I haven't watched that show, but it sounds interesting. Tell me more." If you're on the more nervous side, don't try to seem suddenly super laid back by forcing a joke into every sentence. Relax and let your natural humor surface when you feel comfortable. Authenticity is the most attractive quality in the long run. Think about it, you want the other person to be honest and real too, right? People have imperfections and quirks, and those often become the very things we grow to love. One more thing about being yourself. Remember that you're not the only one being evaluated. You're also evaluating whether you actually like the other person. In other words, don't spend the whole evening preoccupied with, do they like me? What do they think of me? Ask yourself with equal weight, but do I like them? How do I feel around them? First dates are a two-way street. Sometimes, in our desire to be liked, we forget to notice whether we actually like the person we went out with. So pay attention to your internal reactions. Are you excited by what you're discovering about them? Do you feel you can be yourself, that you're relaxed in their presence? Or, on the contrary, do you feel you have to calculate everything you say for fear of being judged? These feelings give you important clues about your compatibility. All kinds of unexpected situations can pop up during a date, and how you both respond can become the salt and pepper of your story, or a warning sign, as the case may be. For example, imagine the server accidentally spills a glass of juice on your date's shirt. A disaster in the moment, but how do you react? If you both burst out laughing and he says, it happens, it's just juice, it'll dry, and you hand him napkins and laugh it off together, you've turned an awkward moment into a connection. On the other hand, if one of you gets really angry at the server over the incident, the other might think, disproportionate reaction if they blow up over a spilled drink. What happens with serious things? These little incidents are revealing. Obviously, we hope no mishaps happen, but life is unpredictable, and sometimes the very imperfections of the evening create its charm. Maybe it suddenly pours and you end up stuck under an awning, soaked but laughing like two kids. Maybe the power goes out at the movie theater and you wind up sitting in the dark, chatting about anything and everything with the popcorn in your lap. Whatever happens, if you keep a sense of adventure and humor, the first date will be memorable even or especially when it doesn't run like clockwork according to plan. Speaking of a plan, it's great to have one, we'll grab a drink, then if we're feeling it maybe a pizza, etc. But be flexible. Go with the flow if you both feel it. Maybe you initially agreed to just have coffee, but the conversation is going so well you don't even notice 2 hours fly by. You don't have to say, okay, goodbye the moment the coffee gets cold. You can spontaneously suggest, hey, I'm a little hungry, how about we grab something light? I know a good place nearby. If the other person agrees enthusiastically, the date continues, or the reverse, maybe you planned a long dinner, but honestly there's not much chemistry. Instead of prolonging the agony for the plan's sake, it's better to wrap up sooner politely. Flexibility shows you're not rigidly ticking boxes but paying attention to the reality of the moment. Now, remember that delicate topics can sometimes come up on a first date. Some would say it's taboo to talk about politics, religion, exes, marriage plans, or kids on the first outing. In general, it's wise to avoid highly controversial subjects right away so you don't turn the whole thing into a heated debate and lose sight of actually getting to know each other. Still, if something is very important to you, something defining, for example, your religious values or a life principle you don't want to compromise, it's fine to mention it when it naturally comes up. Not in an aggressive way, of course, but you also don't need to completely hide essential aspects of yourself. After all, the purpose of dating is to see whether you're compatible. If you're looking for a serious relationship and the other person clearly says, I'm not looking for anything serious right now, it's good that you discussed it honestly, better than discovering a month in that your expectations were completely different. So if it feels natural, you can touch on topics like values and what you each want in the future in a relaxed, curious way. Growing up with my grandparents in the countryside shaped me a lot. Where did you spend your childhood? Or I think balance between career and personal life matters. How do you see it? You observe, ask open-ended questions, don't judge the answers, just listen. Remember, it's not an interrogation with a list of deal breakers, but you also don't have to stay on the surface if you both feel like talking about deeper things. As the conversation and time go on, you may feel the initial nerves morph into either a sense of ease and joy if everything's going well, or, in some cases, confirmation of your concerns if you realize you're not that compatible. We'll talk in a moment about how to handle both. But there's another logistical detail: who pays the bill? The eternal first date dilemma. Traditionally, many expect the guy to pay if he did the inviting. But times have changed, and many women insist on contributing or at least paying their share. The most graceful approach is this: when the check arrives, politely offer to pay, or to split. If the other person warmly insists on treating you, you can accept with a smile and a thank you, next time dessert is on me. That shows you appreciate the gesture and also leaves the idea of a future date on the table. If instead they accept the proposal to split, do it without any fuss. It's just a first date. You're both independent adults, and there's no offense in paying separately. The important thing is not to let the check become a tense episode. Handle it naturally and with mutual respect. So, the evening is drawing to a close. Maybe you took a short walk after leaving the cafe, or maybe you stayed at the table until the place emptied out. Either way, the moment comes to say goodbye. And here comes a small moment of truth, how each of you feels about parting and what signals you send. If the date went well and you both felt a connection, it usually shows in your eyes, in your smiles, in the way you both keep delaying the goodbye by lingering another couple of minutes on the corner. Some people go for a quick kiss, maybe on the cheek, or even on the lips if the chemistry was strong on a first date. Others prefer a gentler approach and settle for a warm hug. Do what feels comfortable and right for the two of you. There's no hard rule. Some kiss on the first date and end up in a happy relationship. Others wait until the second or third, and that's just as fine. What matters is that your goodbye reflects the moment. If you both feel the desire, go for it. If not, a smile and a heartfelt "I had a great time, I can't wait to see you again" conveys the same message of interest. Now, let's explore a few possible endings to a first date and how to handle them in a healthy way. The ideal scenario. You had a wonderful time together. The conversation flowed naturally. You laughed. You discovered common interests, and you even feel that spark of strong attraction. At the goodbye, maybe there was a sweet kiss or at least a clear promise to repeat the experience soon. You head home with a huge smile, your heart floating somewhere above the sidewalk. In your head, love songs suddenly have new meaning and the world seems more beautiful. Enjoy these moments. A successful first date is like a dose of energy and optimism. Still, a small piece of advice. Keep a little perspective and don't get carried away, even if you're extremely excited. It's just the first date, no matter how promising. There's still a lot to discover about each other. Enjoy the moment, but let the relationship develop naturally. Don't start planning the wedding in your head the next day, not yet anyway. Instead, you can send a message soon after or give them a call the next day to say you enjoyed the date and you're looking forward to seeing them again. Be sincere and calm. Most likely the feeling is mutual, but neither of you wants to seem too eager. By showing appreciation, you give a clear sign that it was real and lovely for you, which will encourage the other person as well. It was okay, but not extraordinary. Not all first dates end with fireworks and angels playing harps. Maybe you felt fine. It was all right. Nothing awkward, you talked, but you don't yet feel that chemistry, or you're not sure what impression you're left with. In such cases, you might be a bit confused. Did I like them? Kind of. They're nice and we had interesting conversations, but was something missing? Or maybe we were both too nervous to tell? If it's not a clear no for you, it might be worth giving it another chance with a second date. Some connections develop more slowly. Not everyone shines right away when they're nervous. Give yourself permission to get to know the person a bit better before deciding. Of course, only if the other person also shows interest in seeing each other again. If at the goodbye they said maybe we'll be in touch in a vague tone, their impression might have been just as lukewarm. In that case, it may either fizzle out on its own, if neither of you initiates another date, or you can reach out, send a message a day or two later saying you enjoyed meeting and see how they respond. If the reply is enthusiastic and suggests meeting again, great. It means they also felt there might be more and want to try. If the response is polite but neutral, it's a sign there probably won't be a follow-up. Don't take it personally again. Sometimes it just doesn't click beyond a cordial acquaintance, and it's better that way than forcing something that isn't there. It went really badly. These things happen. No matter how optimistic you are when you leave the house, some dates are a disaster. Maybe the conversation was as awkward as dancing to the wrong song. You simply had no common ground, or the energy was flat, or maybe the person behaved inappropriately. They talked about themselves for hours without asking you anything, kept staring at their phone, made unpleasant comments, or were rude to the staff, a major red flag. Whatever the reason, if you leave the date feeling disappointed, even insulted, or just exhausted by how badly it all went, the good news is, it's over. That's it. You're done. Now you can go home, put on your pajamas, and call the evening a wrap. Under no circumstances should you mistake a failed date for a personal failure. Remember, the fact that there was no chemistry, or that the other person turned out to be a poor fit, doesn't mean you did something wrong. Of course, if you did something off, make a note not to repeat it with someone else. Simply put, not everyone is a match. Some people even hide unpleasant surprises that only come to light in person. Treat the whole thing as a learning experience. Now you're clearer on what you don't want in a partner or which communication style doesn't work for you. Give yourself an evening of wow, what bad luck. Call a good friend and tell them the story. You'll find yourself laughing at parts of it sooner than you think. Then move on. The magic of beginnings is still out there, waiting for your next try. The misaligned feelings scenario. This one is tougher emotionally. Let's say you're ready to jump for joy because of how great you felt, but you suspect the other person found the date meh. Or the reverse, you sense they're very excited to see you again, but you're not convinced. What should you do? In the first case, when you're the one who's smitten and you don't know if the feeling is mutual, don't switch into desperation mode. Maybe they're being reserved out of caution, or they need time to process. You can clarify in a simple way, thank them for the evening and say directly that you enjoyed it and would like to do it again. Then see what they say or do. If they respond positively, even if not with the level of effusiveness you feel inside, that's a good sign. If they dodge the question or say something like, sure, we'll be in touch, but then don't reach out at all, you've got your answer. It's hard to be on the unfavored side, but as much as a tacit or explicit no can hurt, it's healthier to accept reality than to cling. Tell yourself it wasn't meant to be, and that a clean stop is better than a false continuation. Don't let rejection make you doubt your worth. Remind yourself, the right people don't always meet at the right time, and it takes two to form a connection. Next time there may be someone who appreciates exactly the qualities that person didn't see. In the reverse situation, when you're the one who doesn't feel the spark but your date seems thrilled and eager to continue. This is where tact and courteous honesty come in. I know it's tempting to go along and agree to one more date out of pity or politeness, especially if they seem genuinely nice, even if you don't feel chemistry. But think how you'd feel in their place. You'd probably prefer a polite no sooner rather than later, right? Ideally, don't give false hope. You don't have to say at the goodbye, I don't think this is going to work, unless they're pressing to lock in the next date on the spot and you really don't want to. You can smile, thank them for the evening, and then, if they reach out, reply honestly but gently. For example, a message like, I'm glad we met. You're a wonderful person, but I've realized I don't feel a romantic connection between us. Thank you for the time we spent together, and I wish you all the best. It sounds formal, but it's better than disappearing without an explanation. Unfortunately, many people choose to ghost to avoid an awkward conversation. You decide what's most appropriate. Some people prefer clarity. Others tacitly get the message if you stop communicating. What matters is that you have every right to say no, gracefully, when it doesn't feel like what you're looking for. In any case, whatever the outcome, congratulate yourself for having the openness and courage to try. A first date requires a dose of vulnerability. You show up with your emotions in front of someone who's practically a stranger in the hope of a connection. That's no small thing. Whether it was wonderful, mediocre, or disastrous, you took a step forward on the path to love. Every experience teaches you something about people, about yourself, and about what you want. You might be wondering, is all this first date stress worth it? My answer is yes, because beginnings, with all their uncertainty, contain the sparks of infinite possibilities. There's something almost magical about sitting face to face with someone and feeling how, from two separate lives, a shared story can suddenly begin to weave. Or even if it won't weave further, that moment of connection, however brief, is proof that we're willing to open our hearts again and again. As the saying goes, there is magic in every beginning. The key is not to stop believing in it just because some beginnings don't lead where you hoped. Every first date is a chance at love, at friendship, or at least at a story you'll keep. Now let's close the chapter with a short story that perfectly illustrates the emotions, mishaps, and surprises of a first date. Picture Jennifer, a 27-year-old who's just parked in front of a cozy cafe on a quiet side street. In the rearview mirror, she checks her makeup for the 10th time, a light layer of lip gloss, mascara that brings out her brown eyes, just enough. Okay, breathe, it's going to be fine, she tells herself as she steps out of the car. She chose her outfit carefully, a mint green airy dress, polished enough to show she made an effort, comfortable enough that she still feels like herself. In one hand she carries a small purse, in the other her phone, tempted to check the messaging app one more time to see if he's texted to say he's running late. No new messages. Maybe he's already there waiting for me, Jennifer thinks, feeling her heart start to pound again. The truth is, an hour earlier Jennifer was this close to cancelling, overwhelmed by nerves. She met Michael 3 weeks ago on a dating site. They've messaged every day since, surprised to discover how much they have in common, from a passion for sci-fi films to an obsession with cinnamon coffee. On top of that, Michael's witty, self-deprecating humour in writing won her over. It's exactly her style. But it's one thing to chat from your couch in pyjamas, hidden behind a screen, and another to meet in real life. The night before, just before falling asleep, Jennifer lay staring at the ceiling, imagining how the date would go. In her mind's eye, Michael was as charming as in his messages, maybe even better looking than in his profile photos, and their conversation flowed naturally, full of intellectual sparks. But as soon as she let herself daydream, doubt whispered, what if it's nothing like that? What if, in person, he's totally different? What if it's awkward and you won't know what to say? In the morning, with her stomach in knots, Jennifer even considered making an excuse. Ugh, I've got a migraine, just to postpone the moment of truth. Still, she realized she'd regret it. Michael seemed like a special guy. Why not give him the chance of a real date? Be brave, don't idealize him, but don't judge him before you truly meet, she told herself. And here she is now, summoning her courage and walking through the cafe door. Inside, the atmosphere is warm, with the inviting smell of freshly ground coffee and a hint of cinnamon, her favorite aroma, she thinks, smiling. At a table by the window, she spots him. It's Michael. She'd recognize him anywhere from his profile photo. He's wearing a light blue shirt and offers a slightly shy smile as he sees her approach. He too arrived 10 minutes early and, while waiting, kept stacking the sugar packets into a little tower. When their eyes meet, both faces light up. That magic moment of here we are, it's really us. Not a screen, not text, but two real people finally meeting for real. Hi, Jennifer. Great to meet you in person, Michael says, standing to greet her with a warm smile. Hi, Michael. I'm glad too, she replied, hoping her voice wasn't trembling too much. She extended her hand for a handshake, and he, a little hesitant, took it, then leaned in and kissed her on the cheek in a friendly gesture. The little uncertainty, do we kiss or not, resolved itself naturally. Jennifer felt a wave of warmth. His scent was pleasant and familiar, and those first touches had already broken the ice more than she would have imagined. They both sat down, smiling at each other. For a second, neither knew what to say. They both seemed caught in the small emotional shock of meeting face to face. Michael broke the silence first, pointing to the cup in front of him. I caved and ordered a coffee about 5 minutes before you got here. The wait got the better of me, he joked. But I held off on dessert until you arrived. I heard they have great pastries here. Jennifer let out a brief laugh, grateful he had started the conversation. You came for the cinnamon in the air too, right? She said, gesturing toward his mug. I can smell it from the door. I think I'll have the same. Cinnamon latte it is, then, Michael confirmed, signaling the waitress. 2 cinnamon lattes and, let's see, a chocolate tart. He looked at Jennifer questioningly. Perfect, bold choice, she said with a smile. Chocolate at night. Let's hope it doesn't get us too wired. It was a simple little joke, but her tone came out relaxed. Jennifer felt her shoulders slowly loosen. Michael was fully present, smiling sincerely. He seemed even more handsome in person. He had playful green eyes that didn't show up well in photos. Their order arrived quickly, and the two began to sip their steaming lattes. The cinnamon created a sort of shared ritual, a playful first cheers for the date. So there really is a real person behind the profile and the funny messages, Jennifer said with a smile over her cup. I'd gotten used to associating you with that photo where you were pulling a face. Michael burst out laughing, remembering the profile picture she meant was one where he'd pulled a goofy face at the zoo, imitating a monkey. I wanted to be honest from the start. I'm a bit of a goof sometimes, he jokes. But I can do serious faces too, like this. Michael furrows his brows in exaggerated seriousness, pretending to be solemn, then gives a theatrical shake of his head. Nope, can't pull it off, he laughs again. Jennifer laughs heartily. She already feels her initial nerves melting away. The conversation naturally glides to topics they'd touched on online, their sci-fi favorites. They're delighted to find they both adore the same series and launch into an enthusiastic exchange about the latest episodes. They tease each other about their favorite characters. She's into the main hero, while Michael prefers the antagonist because he has his reasons. He's misunderstood. The conversation gets lively. They both gesture, take sips of coffee, and relax completely. Around them, the cafe has filled up, but they're absorbed in each other. At some point, Jennifer realizes about 40 minutes have passed. Wow, where did the time go? She marvels to herself. Feeling so at ease, she'd almost forgotten this was a first date. It felt like talking to an old friend, and at the same time she felt those lovely butterflies in her stomach when she noticed just how charming Michael was. Suddenly, as Michael is animatedly telling a funny story from his trip to Japan, Jennifer notices a tiny bit of whipped cream from the chocolate tart stuck to his chin, without him realizing. It's a moment that's both sweet and silly. Jennifer hesitates for a second, should she tell him? She doesn't want to make him feel embarrassed. On the other hand, the scene is too adorable. He's gesturing, talking happily, with that ornament on his face. She breaks into a wide smile and interrupts. Hold on, don't move. And without a second thought, Jennifer reaches out with a napkin and lightly touches Michael's chin, wiping away the rogue dollop of whipped cream. There, now you're presentable, she says playfully, a little embarrassed by her own boldness. Michael blinks in surprise, then brings his fingers to his chin, realizing what just happened. He cracks up. God, I'm so glad you did that. Who knows how long I would have sat like that. He bursts out laughing. Thank you for saving my knightly honor, milady, he adds offhandedly, making a comical bow from his chair. In Jennifer's heart, the gesture had been instinctive, almost like something you'd do in an already close relationship. She'd felt comfortable enough to brush a speck off his face that says something, and Michael's self-deprecating, easygoing reaction delights her. After the requisite laughter, the conversation flows on. From vacations, they shift to slightly more personal topics. Jennifer shares how she decided to change careers last year because she felt she wasn't on the right path. Michael listens with interest and asks what she would truly like to do. She hesitates, then admits she's always toyed with the idea of writing, maybe even publishing a book one day. Voicing this secret dream makes her blush a little, but Michael doesn't laugh, doesn't react awkwardly. On the contrary, his eyes light up. You really should write that book, he says earnestly. Earlier you told me about that mountain trip with your friends, and it had so many funny details. You have a knack for storytelling. I feel like I'd read something you wrote in one sitting. Jennifer feels a lump of emotion in her throat. She hadn't expected such a sincere compliment at such a personal level. She thanks him with a smile and jokes that first she'll need the discipline to write at least a few pages, not just daydream about them. Inside, though, something warm stirs. Michael, practically a stranger until today, has managed to make her feel appreciated for who she truly is, not just for how she looks or the usual early-stage superficialities. The evening brings a surprise. The waitress comes timidly to their table and lets them know that in 15 minutes, the cafe will be closing a bit earlier that day. There's a technical issue they need to fix. Jennifer and Michael look at each other, disappointed the time has flown. They hadn't even realized it had gotten late. I don't really want to end this story just yet, Michael says, pursing his lips as if calculating something. How about, do you like ice cream? Who doesn't? Jennifer laughs. Did you have something in mind? I know a slightly offbeat gelateria that's definitely open for another hour. They have an amazing raspberry sorbet. Want to walk over? It's a few blocks away. Jennifer's heart skips. Not only does she not want the evening to end, but the idea of a moonlit walk for ice cream sounds wonderful. She gladly agrees. They leave the cafe after Michael gently insists on picking up the check. Jennifer protested a bit, but he joked that next time he'll let her choose the place and then she can pay for whatever she wants. So she gave in, more delighted by the suggestion of a next time than by the money saved. Outside, the night air is pleasant and cool. They walk side by side along the quiet sidewalk, under the yellow glow of old street lamps. The conversation continues, softer now, closer to a whisper, as if tuned to the nocturnal atmosphere. They talk about the city, about how the old buildings look at night. At some point, Jennifer realizes that for several minutes their hands have been swinging closer and closer until their fingers brush lightly, by accident. She feels a shiver and wonders whether to take his hand or if it's too soon. Almost at the same moment, Michael, with a timid yet determined boldness, slowly encloses her palm in his. Their fingers intertwine and neither of them says anything about it, but both smile broadly, looking ahead. The simple gesture stands in for 1,000 unspoken words. At the gelateria, they share a large cup with 2 flavors. The sorbet Michael praised and the dark chocolate ice cream Jennifer chose. They sit on a bench outside, savoring the sweet cold dessert, talking about nothing in particular, and feeling a comfortable ease settle between them, like 2 people who have known each other for a long time. Jennifer almost forgets this is only the beginning. Everything unfolds so naturally. When they finish, Michael stands and, in a playful gesture, bows to Jennifer and offers her his hand like a gentleman. "Would you grant me a few more minutes to escort you to your carriage, my lady?" he asks in a theatrical tone. Jennifer plays along, rising and offering a small, imaginary curtsy. "With pleasure, my lord." Laughing, they stroll back to where she left her car. 10 minutes later, they stop by the driver's side door. The moments at the end of a first date, the ones when you have to say goodbye, carry a feeling all their own. Beneath a softly flickering street lamp, they look into each other's eyes. Jennifer feels a mix of joy and a slight pang that the evening is ending. "Thank you for an absolutely wonderful evening," she says softly. "Honestly, I don't even know where the time went." "Thank you too," Michael replies, stepping just a touch closer. "I have to admit I was pretty nervous at first, but now I could easily spend another 3 hours with you at least." He smiles and runs a hand through his hair, a small tell of his bashfulness. Jennifer feels her cheeks warm. It's exactly how she feels too. "And tomorrow is another day," she ventures. "I mean, I'd like to see you again if you want to, of course." Michael almost laughs at the obviousness of the question, but answers gently, "Of course I do. In fact, I can't wait." And they stay like that, silent for a long second, when words no longer matter. Michael steps in close and gathers Jennifer into a warm embrace. She rests her head on his shoulder for a moment, breathing in the scent that will now be etched in her mind as the smell of a beautiful evening. Then, as they pull apart, Michael kisses her softly on the cheek, his lips almost grazing the corner of her mouth, a tender gesture that sends a flutter of butterflies playing in her chest all over again. "Good night, Jennifer," he says in a low voice. "Take care, and I'll talk to you tomorrow, okay?" "Good night, Michael," she replies. "Yes, we'll talk tomorrow." Sliding into the car and starting the engine, Jennifer sees him through the windshield lift a quick hand in farewell before heading down the sidewalk. And then she's alone with her thoughts as she drives slowly home. But not alone, not really. An involuntary smile brightens her face and her heart feels full. If on the drive over she'd blasted music to chase away her nerves, now she switches off the radio. She likes the quiet of the car, because in it the moments of the evening unspool like a beautiful film. The jokes, the touches, the look in his eyes when he told her to write her book. Jennifer chuckles, remembering the whipped cream on the chin moment and the way he held her hand on the street. Look how, in a single evening, a stranger became someone, she reflects. Of course, she knows it's only a beginning. There's no way to know what will follow between her and Michael. But that's the beauty of it. For the first time in a long time, she feels the future may be hiding a wonderful story. Once home, before getting into bed, Jennifer sees her phone light up. A message from Michael. "I'm home too. Still smiling. Thanks again." Jennifer laughs as she reads his words, short, simple, yet she can almost feel Michael smiling on the other side of the screen. She replies quickly, "I'm all smiles too. Good night and sweet dreams. Maybe with green dragons from the show, haha." She feels the need to cap it off with a little inside joke. The reply comes promptly, with green dragons drinking cinnamon lattes. "Good night, I can't wait to see you again." Setting her phone down, Jennifer nestles under the soft blanket. The butterflies in her stomach have quieted, leaving in their place a gentle warmth and a fresh hope. It was more than I hoped for, she tells herself, closing her eyes. And with that thought she drifts off, already dreaming of the next chapter. The magic of this beginning has brought her not only a lovely evening, but the promise of a story that's just starting to be written.